Hi everybody, Old Iron Will here again. Got another little engine tale to share with you. This one's, you know, could have been a bad story, but it actually, at the end of the day, it's worked out very well. I've got a 2.5 horsepower Mogul here. I have a 6 horsepower IHCM. Both came from the same place, and I'm going to just share this story of how I came apart, how I got these engines and learned about them, and really, guys, got to go back. I think it's 2012. My dad and I were at the Borden Museum Threshing Day. We had to display engines there, and the whole day started, which was a great day. Get to go run some engines. I remember it was a beautiful, nice, warm day. I can't remember what we had in the show trailer, but that's neither really near. That doesn't really matter, that portion of it, right? So my brother and his best friend were, they were going to come out to the threshing show that day. They were both living in around Saskatoon. So my brother, they were going to ride out in their Harley Davidson motorcycles, and the end of what happened, unfortunately, my brother got in a motorcycle accident on the way out there, right? Somebody kind of cut him off, and fortunately, he almost died out in the highway there. It was a serious accident. He got very fortunate because somebody coming around down the other side of the lane there was a couple of ambulance attendants that were off duty, and I think they were able to stabilize him or stuff like that, because he ripped basically fractured every vertebrae in his back, ripped his main artery here, just about bled out, severe concussion, broke his wrist, I think fractured some ribs, but he almost bled out there, and I think if it wasn't for those ambulance attendants, he probably would have, right? And the talking part of it to my dad and myself, I left my phone in the truck that day, and I hadn't even realized when, talking with people at the show and all that type of stuff, and kind of got loaded up, ready to go, and oh, hey, there's my phone. Look at it, and I don't know how many phone calls and text messages that I had, and they were trying to get hold of me and telling me my brother was in the hospital. So that's fine. So phone in, find out, they've got him stabilized, and chat it with dad. And I said, well, my dad, he's getting to be an older gentleman at the time. I said, well, I'll pick you up. He didn't like driving in Saskatoon or in the city. So I said, I'll pick you up. We'll go in tomorrow. We'll go see how he's doing. So that's fine. Dad got in his vehicle and he went home to Rosetown, and I had to go home. I was living in Spiritwood at the time, so I had to go through North Battleford to get back to Spiritwood to stay on the highway. Stopped at McDonald's just to grab a quick burger and stuff like that, and trailer load of engines on behind me. And this fellow walks up to me and he goes, hey, and he started asking me a few questions and stuff like that. And he goes, well, we have a bunch of engines at our old farm, and you think you'd be interested? And, so we talked for a little bit and exchanged numbers. And I think with everything going on, somehow I lost that number. And, and so number of years later, 5 years later, going to another show, and I'm driving, and I'm just outside of Saskatoon, and before I got to the city, I wanted to pull over and just check the straps and everything like that. I was traveling with my good friend Barry. We're going down to a show near where my dad lives. The guy was having a private show, so we went down there and pulled over. I was going to check the straps, make sure everything's still buckled up good and tight before I got into the city. And all of a sudden, it's a divided highway there, and all of a sudden somebody is ripping across the ditch and up and over, and they come flying up behind me, and I'm thinking, well, what the heck's going on here? And then all of a sudden this guy jumps out. And he's talking, and he goes, yeah, well, you collect these, and yeah, we got a little bit of chit chat back and forth, and he goes, yeah, we got some engines at our farm. Okay, so he gives me the details and all that type of stuff, and never really think much of it. And then a little later on the drive home, I go, that sure sounds like the same group of engines I lost the contact information a number of years ago to. So anyways, needless to say, about a month later, I went out and looked at the engines, was chatting with him, and sure enough, it was the brother of the other guy that talked to me, right? And so, anyways, we made a deal on the engines, and I picked up 5 engines that day. There's these 2, and a little 1.5 LB, which I sold off, and a little Cushman Cub that I gave to my friend Barry for helping me load these things up, because we had to do it all by grunt work. And there's a beautiful 1.5 International M. Again, about a 1927, I think, which is about the year of this M here also. But, lots of original paint, deckling. You can still read all the lettering on the skid and everything like that. I'll share some pictures of it, but it was just, it's kind of funny how things, could have been really bad, and I could have lost my brother that day, and losing the contact information, and how these engines, a couple times came back to me. So I guess sometimes what's meant to be is meant to be, right? So anyways, I just thought I'd share that little story, and I always thought it was kind of interesting just how a number of years later all those engines found me again. So anyways, take care for now, everybody. Cheers.